Help me reach 1,000 subscribes. Support the video with a like and leave your thoughts in the comments. I read every comment. Thanks. I didn't expect the truth to arrive quietly. It came on an ordinary Tuesday, the kind that smells like burnt coffee and routine. My name is Daniel, 38, project manager, predictable to a fault. Emily and I had been together 9 years, married for 6. We were the couple people pointed to when they wanted proof that stability still existed. We argued about groceries, laughed about old trips, planned a future that felt fixed in place. Or so I believed. Emily had a habit of leaving her phone face down. She said notifications stressed her out. I respected that. Trust, after all, was our currency. That night, she showered late, humming oddly light. Her phone buzzed on the counter once, twice, then stopped. I didn't look. I dried dishes and waited. When she came out, wrapped in a towel, she kissed my cheek and asked about my day. Everything felt normal enough to ignore the faint unease settling in my chest. The weeks before, though, had been quietly wrong. She started staying out later on Thursdays, saying it was team dinners. She bought new perfume, something sharper, unfamiliar. In bed, she turned away sooner, fell asleep faster. None of it was enough to accuse. It was enough to doubt myself. I told myself marriages change. Love matures. Fire becomes warmth. The message came the next morning. I was tying my shoes when her phone lit up again on the dresser. I wasn't snooping. It was simply there, screen bright, my name not on it. One line, unmissable. Last night was dangerous. We can't do that again. My hands froze mid-knot. I didn't unlock anything. I didn't need to. The sentence sat there, complete, heavy. I went to work and pretended to function. Meetings passed like water. I spoke when prompted, nodded when required. By noon, I had replayed every recent moment, assembling a puzzle that suddenly made sense. I didn't confront her. I didn't call a friend. I waited, because waiting felt like control. That evening, Emily came home cheerful, carrying takeout. She chatted about traffic and deadlines. I listened for cracks, for guilt. There was none I could see. After dinner, she said she was meeting her sister for a drink. Thursdays, again, I watched her choose an outfit with care she hadn't shown me in months. When she left, the apartment felt larger, emptier, like sound had been turned down. I found the truth without breaking a lock. Her laptop chimed while I sat on the couch. A calendar reminder popped up, synced across devices. Hotel 9 p.m. The note below was brief, efficient, devastating. A name I knew, Mark, her colleague, married, too, if rumors were right. The date was last Thursday, the dangerous night. I closed the laptop and stood in the quiet. There it was, the line I hadn't crossed and the one she had. I felt anger, yes, but more than that, a clean clarity. This wasn't a mistake that begged forgiveness. It was a decision repeated, scheduled, protected by lies. Emily returned near midnight. She smelled like the new perfume. She asked if I was awake. I said yes. She smiled, relieved, and went to brush her teeth. I watched her reflection in the mirror, the practiced normalcy, the ease. She slid into bed and touched my arm, light, testing. I didn't pull away. I didn't respond. I stared at the ceiling and listened to her breathing settle. Sleep didn't come. By morning, my plan was simple because it had to be. I packed a small bag. I left my ring on the counter, where she'd see it first. I wrote nothing. Words would invite debate, excuses, a version of reality that asked me to compromise myself. I wanted none of it. As I opened the door, my phone vibrated. A message from an unknown number. Please don't do anything drastic. We need to talk. I stepped into the hall, closed the door softly behind me, and felt the finality of silence begin. I walked down the stairs slowly, counting each step, steadying my breath. Outside, the night air felt colder, sharper, honest. I didn't know where I was going yet, only where I wasn't staying. My future narrowed into a single decision, clean and irreversible. Whatever explanations waited inside that apartment, I chose not to hear them. Some truths don't need conversations. They need distance. I kept walking, refusing to look back, letting the quiet carry me toward whatever came next, alone, awake. The first night away was spent in a hotel near the river, anonymous and beige. I slept 3 hours, woke before dawn, and stared at the ceiling until the light crept through the curtains. My phone vibrated repeatedly on the nightstand. I didn't check it. Silence had become a boundary, and I intended to keep it intact. By morning, I knew I couldn't drift. I took the day off work, called my brother in Manchester, and told him I was coming. He didn't ask questions. He just said there was a spare room and put the kettle on. The drive took 4 hours, enough time for the shock to settle into something steadier. Not peace. Resolve. Emily finally reached me that evening. A voicemail. Her voice was unsteady, breathless. She said my name like it might pull me back. She said it was a mistake. One night. Meaningless. She said she loved me. I deleted the message without replying. Meaningless nights don't require secrecy. Love doesn't need hotels. The next week unfolded with a strange efficiency. I spoke to a solicitor recommended by a colleague, opened a new account, moved my salary. I collected documents from the apartment. When Emily wasn't there, she left notes taped to doors, apologies written in hurried loops. I folded them once and placed them in a drawer I never opened again. Each step felt deliberate, almost ceremonial, as if I were dismantling a life piece by piece to understand how it had been assembled. She tried different approaches. Tears, anger, reason. She said Mark meant nothing, that she'd ended it. She said she'd been lonely, that I'd been distant. That hurt more than the rest, not because it was true, but because it reframed her choice as my failure. I answered once, briefly, by text. I know what happened. I'm not discussing it. It was the last message I sent. Weeks passed. The divorce moved forward, without drama. Emily asked for counseling. I declined. Counseling repairs fractures. It doesn't resurrect trust after burial. I learned later that Mark's wife found out, too. The dangerous night had detonated more than our future. I felt no satisfaction in that knowledge. Only confirmation. Consequences don't require applause. In quieter moments, grief arrived without warning. A song in a shop. A restaurant we used to love. The memory of a laugh that once belonged to us. I let it come and go without bargaining. Leaving without a word hadn't been cruelty. It had been self-preservation. I wasn't punishing her. I was choosing myself. 3 months later, the paperwork was finalized. I signed where indicated and slid the folder across the table. The solicitor nodded, practiced and neutral. Outside, rain streaked the pavement. The city rinsed clean. I walked to the station and boarded a train with no urgency, watching the countryside blur past, feeling something loosen in my chest. I moved into a small flat near the river. Mornings became mine again. I ran before work, cooked simple meals, slept deeply. Friends filled the quiet with conversation that didn't tiptoe around the past. One evening, my brother asked if I regretted not hearing her out. I thought about it longer than expected. Regret implies doubt. I had none. Words wouldn't have changed the facts. They would have only delayed acceptance. On a cool Sunday, I passed Emily by chance outside a cafe. She looked smaller, tired. We locked eyes for a second that stretched thin. She started to speak. I nodded once, a courtesy, then kept walking. It wasn't indifference. It was completion. I carried what had happened without bitterness, without rehearsal. That night, I sat by the window with a glass of water and watched the lights ripple on the river. The future I'd imagined was gone, yes, but the future itself remained intact, wide and unclaimed. One secret night had destroyed what we were building, but it hadn't destroyed me. Walking away without a word hadn't been silence. It had been a statement, precise and final. I closed the window, turned off the light,